Welcome once again to another tutorial, hopefully short tutorial, for Orgama Optimizer members. This tutorial has its genesis in the question that the most common question that I get in the room is for new traders to the options world. How to place these complex option trades. I mean, all of my trades, it seems that they are really complex. No, they are not simple trades. They seem to involve quite an amount of buying and selling and buying different options. So hopefully at the end of this tutorial, you will be able to understand the concept of a complex option trade and the mechanics behind the option trade. So this is not a tutorial. Don't expect any theoretical discussion here about the specific complex trades, but it's more about a mechanical concept. And for those of you that are not familiar with this, is a great start on how to at least place those trades, buy and sell these kind of trades. So the difficulty arises because the usual transaction flow that you're accustomed to is for shares and futures and most other equity instruments out there. It's very simple. Now you have just one single type of shares, or two maximum, no, but at least you have one type of instrument, and the only thing you have to do is buy it or sell it. I mean, what else is to do there? You don't have any more options. I either buy the shares or sell the shares, or I buy the futures and sell the futures. It's the simplest of the worlds. No, it's a very simple world where buying and selling is simple. And along the lines, the most important pieces of information that you need about that security is the bid and the ask. So most of you guys are used to buying at ask and selling at bid, which is basically a market order. Now you are used to market orders and getting executed right away. Some of you might be used to limit orders, but the concept is the same. The concept is that in a very liquid market, the bid and the ask are very close together, and there is no way to get in between. I mean, you either you want your trade to execute quickly, you have to go as a market order. However, options, and in particular complex option trades, don't work like that. I mean, you still have a bid and ask, but the distance can be really huge between the bid and the ask. In particular for complex option trades, the distance between bid and ask is going to be gigantic. So in the Gamma Optimizer room, and in general for your life, for your normal trading life, never use market orders for options or complex options. Never. Not even for options. No matter how liquid the option chain is, no matter how tight the bid and the ask of the options is, don't dare to send a market option. There are many reasons for that, and the most important reason is that the bid and the ask on options is most likely generated by a computer. If you send a market order, you will notice how the bid and ask will widen gigantically. They will move that value from you as there is no tomorrow, and you will end up paying lots of money for an option or getting nothing for the option. So because of that, whenever it comes to options, my advice to you is only limit orders all the time. Don't even dare to do a market order. If you want to sell a market, just do a limit order at bid or do a limit order at ask, but limit order all the time. Okay, so now moving into the complex option trades. The most important concept for complex trades and for option trades in general is called the mid price. The mid price sometimes can be called the mark. I know that Thinkorswim calls it the mark, and I know some other places call the concept the mark, but I call it mid. I love it. I love to call it mid. What is mid? Mid is what it means. No, is the mid distance is the half point between the bid and the ask. No, so the formula is very simple. You can compute the mid just by yourself, doing bid plus ask divided by 2. But most retail software and most software in general will quote you the mid right away. They will quote your option with the mid. And this is a very fundamental concept because in reality, in real life, options are priced at mid. That's what it is. I mean, if I am modeling an option and I am an option dealer or a market maker, the first thing I compute is the mid of the option. That's the price that I want for the option. And then for the execution, if I am offering the option, then I pad it. I kind of like shift the mid to create a bid and an ask in such a way that the mid price is the price that I want. So I can shift the ask 10 cents up and the bid 10 cents down, and I create the concept of mid. So mid is a fundamental concept in options. So whenever we talk about options, forget about bid and ask. Don't worry about that. Don't even think about bid and ask anymore. Just think about mid price and configure your software so it shows you mid price all the time, or mark, whatever it is what your software calls the mid. So now that we got that out of the way, what is a complex option? So this is a tutorial about complex option trades. And what is a complex option trade? A complex option trade is any trade where you are buying and selling multiple options simultaneously. Just let that sink in. You are doing this at the same time. You are buying 10 options of this kind, selling 20 options of this other kind, or buying another 10 of another date, whatever. I mean, it could be as complex as you want, but the trade has to be executed simultaneously. All of those options have to go at the same time. So if you try to do this on your own, you try to sell this leg and then this other leg, and do each portion of the complex trade on your own, you are going to fail. You are not going to get a good execution once everything is said and done. You have to deal simultaneously. And I know that you're thinking like, man, how can I do that? Well, don't worry, your broker knows how to do it. They are used to these complex trades. It's not going to be something that they have never seen before in their life. These things have existed for a long time now. And any broker, any competent broker can handle complex option trades. In fact, retail software, the software that you use to place your trades, can handle complex option trades without any problem. Even the most basic software that provides option support will have this ability to do it for you. So whenever we are talking about complex orders, forget about trying to do it on your own. These things are always broker assisted, either because you're using an old-fashioned human broker or you're using the software that has the ability to do so. So, okay, so those are some examples here. So how a complex order looks like. I am not going to be an exhaustive list of complex orders. This is just something that came to the top of my head. A vertical call spread is probably a very, very common option. And that's the format that I wrote it here is the format that I use on my Gamma Optimizer room. So that way it's more familiar to you. So I usually write the complex order as a series of instructions separated by the slash. So the instructions are very simple. It's like buy 10 XPX April 7, 2370 calls, and at the same time sell 10 XPX April 7, 2375 calls. So you notice it's a simultaneous transaction. It's not that you buy the first calls of 2370 and then you sell the 2075. No, you have to do this simultaneously at the same time, otherwise this trade will be worthless. So the vertical call spread is an example of a complex order with what I call two legs. So the instruction only has two transactions, a buy and a sell. So this is what we call a two-legged complex order. The second example is a butterfly. A butterfly is a more complex trade, and if you have been on my room, you will notice that I love butterflies for certain cases. Now, there are certain market theses that are worth playing with butterflies. So a butterfly entails even a more complex position because we are buying 10 options of 2,340 puts, selling 20. It's even not even the same number. Selling 20 of the 2,350 and then buying 10 of the 2,370 put. So this is a little bit more complex trade. and it's called a butterfly and requires to have 3 transactions going on simultaneously. So this will be, as you can guess, a 3-legged transaction. It has 3 legs on it. And don't worry, your broker knows how to do this. Believe me, the broker, any decent option trading desk knows how to place these butterfly trades. And in fact, the butterfly probably is the bread and butter of option trading. I guess it's one of the most common positions ever. I guess if you do some kind of survey of all the exchanges, I think butterflies will always win. It's the most common transaction. And I'm going to finish this with what I call the capped risk reversal, which is also one of my favorite trades in the Gamma Optimizer room, in particular for SPX. This takes the price. No, it has 4 different instructions. No, there are a buy and a sell of call options on the first line and a buy and a sell of put options on the second line. So this is a very interesting trade because not only you are buying and selling calls, you are also buying and selling puts, and everything at the same time on the same transaction. No, and here I explained that every component of the trade is called a leg. So in this case, this cap risk reversal is an example of a trade with 4 legs. And I know brokers love 4. 4 is a nice number, so some brokers will handle up to 4 legs for you without any problem. Other brokers will start complaining if you add more legs to your trade, but there is no like a hard limit. It's not that the exchanges will stop quoting them. It's just that the broker sometimes will not do it. So even your retail software will have a limit also on the number of legs. Some retail software has a limit. So let's say 4. For most practical purposes, 4 legs are more than enough to express the most complex position. And again, this list that I gave you is only a very incomplete list of all of the possible combinations. As you can see, there is a whole lexicon out there. I mean, option traders are very resourceful guys. They have lots of imagination and they come up with the weirdest names for everything. I mean, a butterfly, which is a very interesting name for a trade, and there are plenty of other names. There is a condor and an iron condor and calendar spreads and so forth and so on. I mean, the point of this tutorial is not to talk about each of those, but I mean to give you an idea how they look like and how to place them. So here is the general advice. First, check your manual. Now, if you're using some electronic platform software, just read the manual, go through the facts, go through all the documentation, and the software must have an option how to place complex option trades. Sometimes they call them multi-legged option trades, or some software is even more useful. They give the names of the trade. They call them butterflies or vertical spreads, or they have the real nice names for them. But in general, it's a multi-leg strategy. So just check the manual. All of the software that is worth its salt, like Trader Workstation in Interactive Brokers or like Thinkorswim, they have all of this ability natively. Also, if you're using a broker, just call your broker and ask them, like, man, I want to place a complex trade. And I say, oh, sure, I will walk you through this. It's very simple to do it. Then most important suggestion here is I talk about mid prices because complex trades involve buying or involve trading different option lines. Imagine that each option has a bid and an ask, no? And when you combine the whole thing, what is the combined bid and ask of the whole thing? You will imagine that the combined bid and ask is going to be incredibly apart. It could be dollars apart. It's gigantic, and that's the nature of the beast. Any complex order necessarily has to have a wide bid and ask, and the reason is because it's like the error function, the error propagating function. When you have width and bid and ask on each leg, then the total width is the multiplication of them. It's not the addition, it's that the multiplication. So it really gets wider really quickly, as depending on the legs and the number of legs that you're using. So that's why you have to use mid price. There is no point on trying to go for mid for bid and ask. Just go for mid. Mid is the value that you should use as reference. I mean, your software shows you the mid and it's $1, then try to get the transaction as close to $1 as possible. Don't even try to overbid or try to try to buy at ask. Just do it as close as possible to mid price. Some software or some option traders also call the mid as the natural price. The natural price is the mid price. Another piece of advice for you guys, in particular the guys that have been on the room for a while, you know that I treat all of my complex option trades as atomic trades. They are indivisible. To me, they are just a single thing. It's just a single black box. If I put it on at the same time. If I take it off, I take it off at the same time. I know the temptation is there because the trade contains multiple legs, the temptation is like, oh, let's just close these legs and leave these legs open just in case the market does this and that. Don't do it. Don't do it at all. That's terrible way of trading these constructions, because we put these trades on because we have a thesis and we are either right or wrong on the thesis. There is no middle ground. So we either keep the trade on, or we close it taking a nice profit, or we just take the loss and move on. There is no point on doing anything else with these things. Like the longer you play with the legs individually, the bigger the hole you are digging yourself in. I know that if the position is moving against you, there is this incredible temptation of closing the leg that is profiting, because as you can see, because the legs are actually opposite, you will imagine that it's going to be one of them has to be making money at some point. So the temptation is there. The temptation is okay, so this call is making money, then let's keep it, and this one is losing, let's close it. No, don't do that, because then you are not trading your thesis anymore. You are trading whatever thing, and the more you play, the more you fiddle with it, the bigger the loss will be. I know you are going to get burned badly if you keep doing that. And finally, just feel free to ask me questions. I mean, I don't mind answering the same question over and over and over. I create this video because I know there is a bunch of new people in the room. So this is a good way to point you first, so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about when I post all my crazy trades. But feel free to ask me on the room or through a private message. And this is it, guys. This is the shortest tutorial I have done, I guess. I hope. I haven't seen the time. Just if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.